Um, I work with. I'll share the screen again. I work with Tableau as well as with uh, ball game words, which is usually used for other activities, but I like to use it to get my students to try to incorporate um, sorry, to try to get my students to incorporate different words into their stories. So um, yeah, and this is all according to, I believe this, I might have got this from Oregon, Shakespeare. These are the 30 most important words in Hamlet. So one activity you can get is to have them have right there, excuse me, own summary of Hamlet, where they would have to incorporate a certain amount of words, or you can choose the words that they incorporate, whether you're trying to break down the scene or um, break down the whole summary and whole. Excuse me. And Hamlet Tableau. Now, the reason why I bring up this Hamlet Tableau is I just completed a curriculum with not only a class in Rhode Island, but Shakespeare behind bars, where we were writing. We weren't able to study the whole play, and just like if you're working with a curriculum where you can only just discuss a speech, like similar to be and not to be, that could be that could be a certain activity that you can do to do some research for a speech. But what if you're just doing a summary of a play? What if you can't work on a whole play, but you still want to have them get the full meaning of a play? This is where I like to use Hamlet Tableau. Now, Hamlet Tableau is usually used with actors. They can create an image with each box, each number. But what I like to do with my students is to get them to either create a couplet or a quatrain with each numbered box. And with Shakespeare behind bars, and also with making it your own. This is a quick way of making a, a short adaptation. Um, you can either do it, either have students write their own couplets using the regular names that are in bold: Hamlet, the Ghost, Ophelia, Laertes, Polonius, or you can have them create their own story. Or when I discuss Hamlet being Disneyfied and you know becoming a Lion King, everything is just everybody, the characters' names were switched. The ending was sort of switched. um, we can do the same thing with Hamlet and have fun, just have the same story and just have them put their own twist to the story. We can create our own setting. This would be in Arkansas, right? Am I right? And I tell you, what I did with Shakespeare Behind Bars, for instance, we definitely they wanted to give all the characters nicknames. So Hamlet, I don't know how they had the connection, but Hamlet was G Piglet, well Pig Ham, you know.
Oh,
Um,
you mean like Alabama regionalisms and customizing it for that?
exactly,
Okay, so
exactly. Yes,
lots
yes,
of y'alls
uh,
and ain'ts and stuff
yes,
like that. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
yes. You can add, and from here you can add the quotes. You can add quotations if you want them to include quotations or idioms. I'm gonna give you an example of a song I did that included Shakespeare's idioms. But for this, the students, they wanted to they connected it to Chicago, and with since I was working with Shakespeare Beyond Bars, one of the filters was we couldn't use swords. So they were able to discuss fights. And if I'm working with a younger group, I wouldn't want to, just like how in the Lion King there was different ways of showing duels, showing fights. We can do that as well here. So I think instead of a sword, they did brass knuckles, or like they switched the weapon. They everybody had a nickname. Laertes was Lolo, Polonius was Polo, baby Polo. So they and they the scene was Chicago. They all the relationships were the same. I believe the ghost was Deadeye because he was dead, but it depending on the reason why I like doing it like this, because depending on the region, just like everybody would use their own slang, their own terms that would connect to their fellow students, that would make it understandable to that region. And this would be also another great collaborative effort, if students wanted to do like a mini song or quick show. So say if you wanted to do an adaptation where the students couldn't study it, we can do it this way. Well, we can work with the first six. Now, with this, we do. I usually don't use a beat, and they both when I was working with this in IOSC, I mean Shakespeare Beyond Bars in high school, they actually created their own version of this in terms of when they would create a couplet in the high school. They would create a quote or two, like they would create their own quotes, and like what would Prince Hamlet say, what did the ghost say to Prince Hamlet in their story. um some of them got comical, and this was only because this is all they had to work with. This was like an introduction to Hamlet, since we weren't able to read the whole piece. Giving them uh, when breaking down the most important soliloquies and seeing the ball game words, the most important words, they'll eventually get a feel. They'll get their own thoughts of what they think this play is about, and it's just to spark intrigue. When opening up the play, if this is again another way of introducing students um, to a play of Shakespeare. It doesn't necessarily have to be Hamlet. I just stuck with the theme.
Well,
So
maybe if you could read the play in its entirety, this would be a good introductory activity, because then they're more engaged reading to see if their creative predictions were right, or does it go in the same direction they thought it did based off of what do you call them, the ball game words, um,
yes.
or if it went in a completely different direction. I think they'd have more of an emotional investment in it than just a passive, okay, I'm doing this because my teacher wants me to do this. And it's more like, okay, am I right? Was it wrong? Am I creatively, they might be like, look at me, I'm on the same level as Shakespeare here, thinking
Mm-hmm.
along the lines of Shakespeare. I could see them being more invested in it. Kind of similar to like with the Scarlet Letter. The whole time they want to know who the baby daddy is. That's all they talk
Mm-hmm.
about. And even though the clues are like glaringly there in that chapter where Dimsdale is introduced, that's something that keeps them engaged, even though there's really no other candidates and they don't really pick up on that. But they're very excited to learn who the baby daddy is in that book. So I could see this kind of engaging them on that level as well, to see if their creative predictions are right or wrong, or do they like the direction they went in better, or do they like the direction Shakespeare went in better? So
Mm-hmm. You're right. Yeah, it definitely sparks it once I feel like, with more interest that the more input that they bring in, the more opinion that they bring into the story, the more interest it gains, and trying to figure out what happens in the next scene, next next act. So yes, this is definitely a good way of practice. Um, I, I I figure we can do like the first half. It doesn't matter if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess you can read number one, Carmine, and
Sure.
yes,
Oh, and
uh,
so are we going to just read through them?
yes,
Yeah. Okay. And I'll just read the first one and we'll alternate.
yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Prince Hamlet is visited by the ghost of his father, and he and his friends stand guard outside the castle at night.
So then I would read number 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The ghost reveals that he was murdered by his brother Claudius, who is now king, and begs Hamlet to avenge his death.
I'll do number 3. Ophelia confesses to her brother Laertes and her father Polonius that Hamlet is in love with her. Polonius and Laertes do not approve.
Hamlet kills Polonius by mistake, thinking he is Claudius.
Ophelia goes mad with grief and drowns herself.
Laertes blames Hamlet for the deaths of his father and his sister and challenges him to a duel. Now, I just wanted to do the first half for the time being. Um, Now, do y'all want to keep the characters' names the same, or do y'all want to try adaptation?
Extemporaneously, or are you going to give us a few minutes?
Oh, I'm gonna give you a few minutes. Yeah.
Okay. We can do that.
And so, are we going to do like a 4-line adaptation?
So what we'll do is we want to have it collaborative, so we can do for each um for each box, it could be either 2 to 4 lines. With however some if you need more if you need more leeway to explain what's happening in that box, feel free. Um, do you want it? We can keep, the names that are in bold: Prince Hamlet, the Ghost, his friends, Claudius, or would you like just like I said, what we did in with our schools, just give them nicknames or shorten it. If we do that, we would have to come up with a collaborative that we would do together before
Yeah,
we break out in groups.
yeah. What do you think?
I'm game. Either way.
You game either way.
Hmm?
Okay. So since it's the half, let's try. You know what? Let's keep their names. We can keep their names. And you wanted to keep the same boxes that we said.
Sure,
Yeah. So
sure.
are we creating like a couplet or a quatrain that rhymes,
Um,
or are we just putting it in our own words?
this one we're gonna do a couplet.
Okay.
Yes. Um,
So like I
yeah.
would do 2 and 5 because those are the ones that I read.
Yes.
Okay.
And I would do 3 and
Okay.
6.
And I had 1 and 4. Okay.
Yes.
How long do we have to work on this? Like 5-10 minutes?
Um, this is 10-15 minutes.
Okay.
Paraphrasing Shakespeare is not just a student activity. It's something that one can do really seriously.
Oh yeah.
Um, I mean, it's something that it has a long history. W.H. Auden wrote a series of poems on Shakespeare characters, and they're not really paraphrases, but they're kind of exercises in um, getting into the minds of the characters
Hmm.
and giving them a new body, a kind of new linguistic body in modern English verse.
Mm. That I never thought about it like that.
And then, yeah, whole novels have been written. I mean, it's done in so many different forms. Robert Nye, who died not too long ago, wrote a whole novel on Falstaff. from Henry IV Part 1, Henry IV Part 2.
For real?
Yeah, and he was a very good writer, Robert Nye. He was a good poet too.
I think I need to check out some of his work. Okay, do we have the first half of our Hamlet tableau?
So I put numbers 1 and 4 in the chat box.
Oh, I can put mine in there as well.
Yes, I'll gladly read it. And for theater classes where you are splitting up classes and we have people presenting and orating and people acting out, and we can still do the tableaus. You can still have the tableaus where you have students that are um, doing the action or showing the action while a student or two are presenting each tableau, saying each tableau. Um, you have a mini short little play for the class. Um, excuse me, that can be done within a class period as well. Um, so um, we'll do these in order. And hey, Jason,
I had a meeting and I just got back.
no worries, no worries. Um, we're gonna throw you into madness, but just let you know what we're gonna do. Um, I oh, I still have my screen shared. Um, we were creating a collaborative summary of Hamlet through the tableaus. We have a summary for to be or not to be. Our what is going to be our poetic trio name? Um, Carmine and Megan. I mean, we have our own version of Hamlet to be or not to be. So, um, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out because now
Yeah,
we have Jason. It's like new edition. We add in like another singer along. So, um, so we did half of Hamlet, the Hamlet tableau, where Carmine did 1 and 4. Uh, Megan did 2 and 5, and I did 3 and 6. So far, this is the a tableau I got from, I believe, Oregon Shakespeare, because we were talking about you know we're doing adaptations on our own thoughts, but what if we are given the facts? What if we give students, they just have to rewrite the scenes? How would it sound? How would it feel? And this is just another way of getting them into opening the play. So, without further ado, here's the order of the translation of 1 through 6 for Hamlet. Oh, I'm sorry. I have no idea where my tableau went. Okay, I will read it until that comes up. Prince Hamlet is outside his family castle, along with the castle guards and his friend. Then his dead father's ghost visits, and they all see him, but only Hamlet can speak to him. The ghost of his father seeks revenge on his murderous brother, demanding he avenge him for marrying Hamlet's mother. Oh, I didn't type mine in. Ophelia confesses to her father and her brother that Hamlet is her lover. She wants their approval, but she didn't even bother. But she shouldn't even bother. That was 3. Old Polonius is behind a curtain when Hamlet um, kills him by accident, hoping to kill Claudius instead. Ophelia, lost as a fatherless daughter, betrayed by her lover, seeks peace in the water. Laertes blames Hamlet for the death of his father, and wants to fight him to an uncontrollable slaughter. His sister died 2, and Hamlet's the main cat that he blames for that, and he wants some payback. So that was 1 through 6. I wanted to say it while this was being shown, but my computer's slow. I'm sorry, Jason. What you going to say?
Oh, I think I was going to say I got to apologize. I didn't do mine in couplets.
Oh, no worry.
I
We
misunderstood.
No worries. I think I didn't give you the option. I just have that OCD in me to write everything in couplets. So, don't worry
Yeah.
about it. But we have a part 2, and we have our third character in here. That we can do the rest of Hamlet. Are you up for the task, Jason?
Just tell me what to do.
Okay. So, again, we're just gonna write our own. I guess you could take my place. We're gonna write these boxes in our own words, and we're gonna have a collaborative summary of Hamlet's Tableau, and 4 different points of view.
Okay.
So, I guess I'll have you. You can read 7. Megan, you can read 8, and Carmine, you can read 9, and then we can just rotate like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. You want me to read 7?
Yes.
Okay. Claudius and Laertes conspire to fix the fight. Claudius prepares a poisoned sword and a poisoned drink to ensure that Hamlet dies during his duel with Laertes.
Oh, sorry. Queen Gertrude, Hamlet's mother, drinks the poison intended for Hamlet. Claudius tries to stop her, but it's too late. She dies.
Laertes and Hamlet duel. Laertes wounds Hamlet with his poisoned sword.
Hamlet stabs Laertes with the poisoned sword. Laertes dies, pointing the finger at Claudius.
Hamlet stabs Claudius and kills him. About time.
Want me to take the last one?
Oh, yes, please. Sorry.
Okay. Hamlet dies from his poisoned sword wound.
Okay. So now, whichever the boxes that you had, could you say write in your own words? For Carmine, I'm going to put you to the test,
Yeah.
and could you write yours in couplet form? Can you write yours
Okay.
in at least a couplet or a quatrain? Yeah, everybody else is open to writing in couplet form or as well, but this is just in options. Usually with when I'm in the classroom, I ask couplets. I ask for couplets. I put music on. The music is optional, but it's always, can you put it in either a couplet form or a quatrain?
So we take our sections and we turn them into our own interpretation in couplet form.
Yes.
Okay, we got about 10, 15 minutes again.
10, 15 minutes again, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Not to put you on the spot, but everybody answered previously. How did it feel doing your adaptation or writing this tableau?
Well, pretty good. I hope I did it correctly. We shall see.
Yeah. The whole idea, I know, well, first off, I know just me speaking, I feel like I'm not cramming, but I'm trying to get as many activities done possible. So I might speak a little fast. That's the New Yorker in me. So, but I do when I get when students write, and whether I'm getting them to write in a Elizabethan way, or trying to get them to write a couplet, writing a certain rhyme scheme, I do expect breakage from the norm. And I believe Shakespeare was somebody that broke from the norm as well. So you are also emulating Shakespeare in a way when you are going against the grain, and you I tell people try when you emulate other writers, not just necessarily Shakespeare, you can pick up traits from certain people and then use it for your own. You could take different skills from other writers, so it doesn't it doesn't hurt to like emulate your favorite authors, and MCs do that also. This right here, adaptation is the equivalent to mixtapes. Rappers mixtapes. They're rhyming on other people's beats and trying to do a parody song, whether comedic or a response. So it's the same thing. So, but yeah, and it's all about trying and putting words on the paper. It's always easy to edit. So, yes.
My original background is in creative writing. I went to the School of Fine Arts in Birmingham and studied poetry there. And we used to have an exercise where we would have to emulate a poet. We would take a work of theirs, we would dissect it, and then we would rewrite it in our own voice.
Yes.
And it was an incredibly informative exercise. I cannot tell you how much I learned about writing from that. Just little things you wouldn't pick up on that maybe don't have a specific term or we don't know the term for, but it was so helpful.
And when I was teaching in Tallahassee, we was doing a creative writing class, and I did something similar to that. The only thing I added was I would add like a little caveat, like they can only use I would take away like 2 letters. They can only use like 24 to 26 letters when they write, or they would they would have to write in a specific like R.L. Stein or Dr. Seuss, but then I would add like they would have to incorporate literary devices, just different ways to spice up the writing and different ways of practicing writing. But yeah, and I mean it eventually you can't always stay with the grain. And I say I never want students to force anything, and that's part of the reason. If this was more a longer residency, I would say I want something in 4 lines. I want something in 14 lines. Hey, I'm giving y'all options. 4 to 10, 2 to 4, to give y'all. And I always tell my students it's always I much rather 2 lines of filler. Like if I'm getting my students to write a sonnet, I much rather 2 lines of filler. Writer's block is a real thing. So
Yes.
I don't want you to give me 12, 14 lines of just fluff just to throw it out there. If you stuck, you stuck. I can't. I'm not going to force it. But this, lyrical exercise, like just like what we did earlier today, that's something that for those that inspire to write, and this is something I learned, just to sit down and just write. So like I woke up this morning, 3-4 hours, just wrote. Pen doesn't leave. Whether I don't even know if I'm going to use any of the verses that I wrote. I was talking about the bird sounds that I heard outside, but it was just just to get the practice out. So that's the reason why I get some of that stuff out. But I definitely give options to give students that because if you're stuck in it, I don't want you to feel encouraged. I don't want you to feel discouraged to like stop writing. So if you didn't do the couplets, if you didn't do the syllables, totally understand. It's all about if you got your thoughts on the paper. So and that's also for the groups, and that's also another reason why I do options with students to write. Students feel more encouraged to write when they're writing with if they're not a writer like that, they do feel more encouraged to write when they're with fellow writers or a fellow student or collaborating. So now that we have our second part of our tableau, would we like to start from the top, or do we want to hear just the second part that we've rewritten between
I say we just do the second part.
Okay.
I mean,
Yes.
if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Megan, do you have a
perfect.
question?
Yeah, Megan had her hand up.
Oh yes.
So does
You're on
Jason.
mute.
Jason, do you?
Is my hand up?
Yeah.
Oh, how do I turn it off? Oh, I press it.
You go back to the same place.
I was just going to say, like, for students that really need, because we talk a lot about growth mindset, and part of that is revising your writing. And I can look just at what we wrote in that 10 minutes. Like, that's the hardest thing, is just to get something out there and to have just enough time that you can be proud of what you've got. Like, there's a there's potential there, but not so much time that you're obsessing over it, because kids will overthink it. And I'm that way too. And like, just looking back at mine, I'm like, I wish I had put a comma here, or there was a grammar mistake there, or I wish I had changed this verb tense. But that opens the door for revising it later. And kids just have to get over that hurdle of being scared to put something on paper. And I feel the exact same way. So it's good for me to do those things that scare me, so that then I can, like, help guide my kids through that process. So I really enjoy doing this, because it's not something that I necessarily do on an everyday basis. But anyways, I just want to throw that out there. I see that this could be useful in English or theater as a good practice for getting that creativity going, and saying, because that's the same with writing, is saying yes and.
Appreciate it. Wanted the I think I wanted to put y'all through the gauntlet. See y'all know what works for your students. What will work, and also you take, just like how you're taking these workshops, the stuff you're taking from Michael and myself, and you're gonna flip it your own way to make it work for your students. That's basically what this is for. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yes, before we move on to our next piece, I would like to hear part two of our Hamlet tableau.
Okay. Do we just start?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm just so.
That's okay.
Yes,
Here we
whenever you're
go.
ready.
These two foul fiends, they hatch a plan for Ham. A victory for Laertes ensured. The Prince of Danes will surely join the damned through Claudius's poison-laden sword.
Nice.
Okay. Queen Gertrude unknowingly drinks from the poisoned chalice. Claudius too late, the consequence paid for his malice.
Laertes cheats and swings a poisoned sword, and Hamlet starts to sicken when he's gored.
The Danish prince Laertes' fate has sealed, with poisoned sword reversed into his gut, and Claudius's treachery revealed, as Laertes his eyes in death does shut.
Now a man of action, toward Claudius Hamlet mortally stabs. Fratricide and regicide avenged, Hamlet's father's ghost dabs. Sorry, that's for my kids.
Hamlet knows he's doomed and now fading fast. He falls onto the ground and breathes his last.
Uh, I just like the complexity, the different styles. Um, Jason, you had, in terms of the boxes, you had more text in each box, so it kind of made sense for you to create quatrains for your pieces. It seems like those boxes have more than the others, but every style was great, and I can just see just everybody having a mic and everybody just telling their own version. I mean us telling this is our fingerprinted version. There will never be another Hamlet tableau version of this. Um, but and making it understandable for our audience. And I like the fact that you added dabs in there.
Well,
But again, that's another way of making it your own. I'm sorry.
I said I only had one line. I had to elaborate a little bit there, but I thought that'd be funny for, like, I'm thinking, how would I do this for my kids?
Oh yes, and that's why I gave you the options for either 2 to 4 lines, because it's hard to stretch. It's hard to stretch 4 lines out of it. Just says Hamlet stabs and kills him, like you know. um. So, but yeah, that is another exercise that I like working with, and